There are certain perspectives on science fiction that rather piss me off. One concerns a prevalent perception of the genre itself. Science fiction is perceived by many as a juvenile, simplistic genre full of spaceships, lasers, and bug-eyed monsters. Even acclaimed author Margaret Atwood has resisted the classification of some of her novels, including The Handmaid's Tale and Oryx and Crake, as science fiction, instead labeling them as speculative fiction. Her use of the term speculative fiction is problematic, as science fiction authors use this as an umbrella term for any story not set in the ostensible real world, including sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Atwood justifies her position from a standpoint of plausibility. For her, speculative fiction features elements that already exist in some way, while science fiction depicts things that don't exist yet. It's an interesting and reasonable argument, even if I don't agree with it. To me, all but the softest sci-fi is an extrapolation of real-world knowledge. While I disagree with Atwood, she doesn't deserve the hate she's been getting, although she did make some very aloof comments back in 2003. Granted, the pulp print boom of the 50s had a lot of lasers and bug-eyed monsters, being essentially fanciful versions of the old swashbuckling hero tales, and the biggest blockbuster hits of the past couple of decades have been relatively simple sci-fi, but the genre has always been one of immense creativity, insight, and potential for social commentary. Moving on to a more specific issue, I never like it when people assume robots in movies don't have emotions. They may have artificial intelligence, but who's to say that their emotions aren't real? After all, our emotions are the product of organic hardware inside our skulls, aren't they? And why can't a soul be digital? The T-800 and T-1000 have emotions. RoboCop has emotions. HAL 9000 and GLaDOS have emotions. Ava from Ex Machina definitely has emotions. I also don't like it when people say time travel doesn't make sense. When written poorly it doesn't, but what I love about time travel is that events can go back in time to cause themselves in the ontological and predestination paradoxes, yet still remain logically consistent. But Time Cop doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a good movie, but the time travel plot is one of the worst I've ever encountered. Agent Walker, Jean-Claude Van Damme, is an agent working for the TEC, Time Enforcement Commission, a government agency established to police the time stream and prevent people from changing history. When an old partner accuses Senator McComb, Ron Silver, of corruption, Walker resolves to stop the senator's unlawful manipulation of time. Time Cop has a pretty fantastic opening. The film begins with an attention-grabbing, anachronistic jolt to the system, as a gunman mows down Confederate soldiers with a pair of MP5s, followed by a meeting scene of gravitas in which the TEC is set up, thus efficiently explaining the previous scene. I also love the steady escalation of Van Damme's first action set-piece, which is full of brawling and gunplay, but also clearly highlights the kind of activities, in this case using future information to play the stock market, the TEC is designed to prevent, all within the faithful recreation of the Great Depression. Time Cop has swift pacing and some engaging character dynamics, including Walker's adversarial friendship with his boss, Commissioner Matuzak, Bruce McGill. I really like how Matuzak's attitude changes slightly as the timeline around him shifts, yet his core loyalty and supportiveness remain. Walker has strong chemistry with Sarah Fielding, Gloria Reuben, his inexperienced yet brave and capable field partner, and the film has a well-handled, genuinely surprising twist regarding her allegiances. Silver is a smooth, self-assured yet sadistic villain as Senator McComb, and there are some very tense, witty exchanges between both him and Walker, and him and his own younger self. In the latter, it's quite amusing to watch the younger McComb get bullied by himself. Walker is an entirely serviceable hero. There's not much to him, with the supporting characters being a lot more interesting, but Van Damme plays him with conviction and humor. The film's aesthetics are solid, with intricate sets and convincing effects, and I like how the advanced technology the film depicts is outdated, with videotapes and big monitors, but still feels futuristic. For that matter, some of the technology in Time Cop is quite prescient, including VR headsets and VR porn, voice-controlled tablets, and a narcissistic sociopath potentially becoming president through money and exploiting the media. Time Cop has a lot of great elements, but the plot is lopsided and full of holes. Melissa, Mia Sara, Walker's wife, who is killed in an explosion at the start of the film, is a major motivation and MacGuffin for Walker, but their relationship is never very engaging, as Melissa doesn't appear that into Walker. For an agency dedicated to preserving history, the TEC is pretty reckless. Walker's old partner, Lyle Atwood, Jason Schombing, is sentenced to execution for attempting to alter time and is killed by being thrown from a skyscraper window in 1929, as the myths claimed stockbrokers were doing at the onset of the Great Depression. Even if Lyle has a cover identity in the past, his execution produces one more death in 1929 than would have otherwise occurred, so the TEC have themselves unwittingly and hypocritically changed history. The TEC uses rocket-propelled pods to hurl agents into the past, but why does the pod just vanish when they arrive? And if temporal agents, and criminals, have small devices on their bodies that can send agents back to the present, then why is Walker shown leaving a pod upon his return? Are there TEC pod hubs at every point in the past? These transition scenes never made sense to me. Senator McComb's plan to boost his campaign finances by using stock options in the past and making his younger self richer with a revolutionary computer chip technology is clever, but the way Walker factors in makes no sense. We learn that McComb's henchmen were the ones who raided Walker's home and killed Melissa in the beginning of the film, an event which repeats in the climax, and which Walker deliberately changes for the better. McComb wants to eliminate the biggest obstacle to his presidency by killing Walker before he can become a TEC agent, so why is Walker left alive at the beginning? McComb basically created his own problem. The warning about how the same matter can't occupy the same space makes just enough sense for me to let it slide, and makes for a cool, morbid image, but Walker's returns to the present, especially in the happy ending, are nonsense when you think about it. Both Walker and McComb have traveled back in time and changed the past, thus creating a new timeline. Their past selves are out there when they're changing things, so when Walker returns to the present of each altered timeline, there should be two Walkers now in the present. And why does the older McComb want to kill himself in the climax? I know he wants to kill Walker and intends to cut off any loose ends, as he thinks he's created a new timeline in which his younger self becomes president and doesn't die in an explosion, but why does he want to kill himself? Since he's created a new timeline, he could go forward and advise himself as president. It'd be pretty easy, given how well McComb can intimidate his younger self, but then I remembered that the film never has two versions of the same person in the present. Given that fact, and how time cop rules result in people somehow replacing their alternate selves when returning to an altered present, McComb could kill Walker, travel back to the present, and instantly be president. Why does McComb want to kill himself? It doesn't make any sense. Time Cop is a compelling film with engaging characters, strong visuals, exciting action, and some cool ideas, but the driving conflict is incredibly sloppy. Time Cop earns 3.5 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Damn it, Ricky, I catch you fucking this machine again, I'll break your neck.
Sorry, Chief.